2 years ago, FA Cup final, you score a goal at Wembley. How much does that experience help ahead of what lies ahead this weekend?
I think it helps, obviously, that the arena and the occasion won't really get to the players that played in that game and obviously played in the semi-final, but at the same time it doesn't mean it's going to be any easier for us, because when we went to play Arsenal, obviously they've got some massive players in their team that have played in big games in European Championships, played in World Cups. Playing in front of the Emirates every week is tough enough. So on that day it was just about coming out and being a stronger team from the beginning, and we were that, but unfortunately that day we couldn't hold on. So I'd like to think we could hopefully finish the job this time.
You've obviously had the FA Cup final, you played in the Premier League. People hype this game up, they talk about £200 million game and securing the club's future. For a player, how big is it?
For a player, it's about getting to the Premier League. It's totally different for the clubs. Obviously, the clubs are going to get massive increases in their revenues, of course. But for us as players, it's about getting back to the Premier League and trying to show our worth against the top players, and that's what we want to do.
In Sheffield Wednesday, you've got opponents who've pushed you pretty close in 2 league games this season. You've got a red-hot striker. It's going to be a long day at the office, potentially.
It is, and I've said it all along, they've been a tough team all season, and the 2 games against them were very, very close. I think the first game, in the 1-1 they had the first half, we had the second half, and then unfortunately the game here was a bit of a dead rubber. I think there was only a Forestieri strike against the bar, and other than that, wasn't much in the game to write home about. But obviously, it's going to be an interesting game to see whether it's a cagey game, whether it's a cagey occasion, or whether both teams go for it from the off. But I'm just hoping that we come out there with win.
How tough is he to play against, Fernando Forestieri?
He's difficult because he has a licence to do what he wants, I think. In most teams, obviously, you will have that player that plays in the hole, but they usually have a bit more responsibility in the defensive part as well, whereas with him, I think he's sort of allowed to be a free spirit and drift all over the pitch. And when you're a centre-half, it's okay when you've got one striker, but when you've got the one in the hole and he's going wherever, it's very difficult to mark, and then you have to rely on your midfielders, you have to rely on your wide men, your fullbacks to make sure he's covered. And because if you do give him too much space, he's a hell of a threat.
If we come to you, Robert, as well, how important is this day for you, the opportunity to play at Wembley?
Yeah, it's an important day. I think, obviously, as Curtis says, it's, you know, the players are now the last one sometimes where there's a lot of revenue and everybody's talking about how much money's at stake, but what we want to do is play in the Premier League. We missed the first opportunity. We obviously automatic, and you know we can't let the second chance pass us by.
And for you personally, given all the injury woes you've had to overcome in the last 2 years or so to get back to playing first of all and now have this opportunity, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, obviously I probably wanted to try and go up automatic, and we're in a good position up until a few months back, and you know it's been great for me in a personal level. But I says when I came back, had a chat with the manager, and everything was to try and force my way into the team, because the team were doing really well. But when you obviously come back, missing the first half of the season, you know, you also need to come back into the team, but you need to go back in at a level, you know, and these guys were brilliant with me, you know, they helped me along the way and nudged me in, and they weren't getting hard tackles and training, so it was good, but they also gave me the confidence to go back in there, and as I say, the rest was up to me to try and show what I can do, and I found myself back in the team, and I'm going to Wembley.
And what's the state of mind generally of you guys as a group of players? Because in the semi-finals, first leg we saw the very best of Hull City. In the second leg, we saw perhaps the worst side of Hull City. So, how do you approach that?
Well, I think that's the reason why we've not been automatically promoted, because there hasn't been that consistency over the last few months, and that's the truth. We can't go into that game, you know, thinking about the last game. It's about the Derby and the Rotherham game before. No, it's all positive. We need to be, because as I said many times, on our day we've proved against Burnley, against Middlesbrough, you know, we've beaten them both comfortably on our day, so we can't get in there thinking about the games that we've not done well in. We need to obviously realise that we're a good side. We'll work hard this week. We'll put things obviously into action come Saturday.
Because this is a bigger game, well, the biggest of the season, does it follow from that you would expect to turn up?
That second leg was still a massive game, and it was a game that was in our hands, and when we nearly threw it away. So it can work anyway. But I'm just hoping that on the day, like I say, the occasion with our experienced players, be it the players that have played international football, played at Wembley, played Champions League football, Europa League, I'm hoping that the level of this game and how much it means in terms of us getting back to the Premier League, just one win to get to the Premier League, I'm hoping that we have a few more level heads that will allow us to relax and play the football that we know we can play, and hopefully that'll be enough to go and win the game.
Was the trauma of that night, can it be a good thing going into Wembley? Because you're relieved to be there, right?
I think it was a wake-up call, really, because obviously we'd had a couple of good results. We obviously beat Rotherham before that 5-1, and to go to Derby, who had beaten us twice this season, and to turn him over 3-0 in their own backyard, I think the lads thought it was just there for the taking. But to obviously go 2-0 down in the first half hour just shows how football, particularly in this league and at this level, can just be so topsy-turvy. So it's probably the little kick up the backside we needed going into the final, and we know that we need to be bang on our game and not lax like we were in that first half against Derby, because Sheffield Wednesday will be giving everything they've got to get to the Premier League as well.